Evil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
an all points bulletin that I would like to get out to you guys. This is an item that we have to cover. We cannot audit our elections without this item. Okay, we're going to go over it. It's extremely important. I've made a graphic that I'm obviously having trouble uploading, but I have a report, or it's not really a report, it's a bulletin that I'm about to read to you guys. And I hope this helps you understand the importance of this particular item. If you didn't already know, if you hadn't heard, yesterday, Ken Paxton issued a ruling from his seat at the Texas Attorney General's office. It was that election records are public records. The public does have access to it, and the 22-month preservation period has a dual purpose: to preserve the records and allow the citizens access to the records. I have a document, and I did a post yesterday. I blasted it out in email. And I also, I've got some comments on StreamYard, huh? Interesting. Who White? Am I muted? You can hear me. Okay, give me a 5x5 if you can hear me. Also, Who White, how did you find my StreamYard? What is this? How did you find my StreamYard? That's funny. What's up, Who White? How'd you get in here? Did I invite you? Now give me a 5x5 if you can hear me, though. Okay, you're making a meme? All right, got you. Okay, welcome everybody and everyone on locals. So this, I had an issue streaming earlier to just 3 platforms. So when I got home, I decided, you know what? Let's make it even trickier. Let's stream to 4. So I'm streaming to 4 platforms right now. I'm on, obviously, the Foxhole. I'm on Locals. I'm on Rumble, and I'm on YouTube. So that's what's happening right now. Oh, I'm getting your comments through YouTube. Oh, I should have known that's possible. This is my first time streaming on YouTube through a software. And I can do it now because I have over 50 subs. All right, we're going to go through my all points bulletin, and I do hope you guys understand where I'm coming from with this. Okay, so I'm going to read you the latest bulletin from Taking Back Texas. And this is on behalf of my training program called The Art of Poll Watching. And ART stands for Action, Responsibility, and Trust, because that's what we need in order to take back our elections and take back our country. Okay? So here's my report. Attention, Texas poll watchers. We cannot audit our elections without the following action. Texas Secretary of State Advisory Code 2019-23, Section 6, Early Voting Procedures. Subsection 5B states, quote, do not print the result tape. Tape will be printed later at the central counting station. This Texas Secretary of State Advisory Code can be found here. I'll provide the link here in the comments in just a moment. And it was issued to outline the procedure for printing result tapes from the machines used during early voting. This advisory code seems to be deliberately vague, and despite numerous requests for clarification from both county election officials, poll watchers, candidates, and citizen auditors alike, the Secretary of State's office refuses to issue any form of clarification to determine when these election records shall officially be produced. Instead of clarification, Keith Ingram and Christina Adkins have chosen to authorize county election officials across the state of Texas that they do not have to produce these early vote result tapes at all. Christina Adkins and Keith Ingram have chosen to waive their own advisory code and allow county election officials to digitally create early vote results by polls. Early voting result tapes are the exact same item as election day result tapes, show the totals by candidate from each polling location from the machines that scan the ballots. The only difference is that the early vote result tapes are rarely, often never printed from the machines used for early voting. Poll watchers in Tarrant County and other Texas counties have had extreme difficulty obtaining these tapes for auditability and reconciliation purposes. Without these tapes printed daily at the closing of early voting locations, we cannot audit our own elections in any meaningful way. Each day during the early voting period, upon the daily closing of the polls, the machines are left at the location along with the poll books and blank ballots. Taking Back Texas investigators have obtained footage showing how simple it is to change the time and date on the controllers and scanners. The process is as simple as entering in the extremely simple code to the machines provided to the head clerk or judge by the election office and toggle for a file from inside one Texas county's public machine test earlier this year. I will play that video file in just a moment. We need all patriots to write into their state house and state senate reps to demand that the Texas Secretary of State immediately advise the early vote result tapes be printed directly from the machines each day upon closing of the polls. To avoid the concern that early vote results will be viewed and released, either a simple NDA should be issued to workers and watchers upon training, or this provision may be added to the oath taken by each worker and watcher upon their arrival to the polls. The tapes must be initialed by all present upon their production to be sure that they are not reproduced before investigations begin. Call your reps today, patriots. These tapes must be produced for auditability purposes. Signed, Taking Back Texas staff of volunteers. This is vital. We absolutely must have these early vote result tapes printed. The advisory code, which says that they'll be printed later at central count, isn't even being followed. They issue the advisory code and then they say, you know what, it's fine. You don't even have to follow that. But the reason that it absolutely must be printed each day at the closing of the polls is due to the fact that even if they print the tape later at central count, after early voting on election day, we will have no way of knowing when that tape was produced because the time and date on the machines can easily be manipulated. The codes are very, very simple. I know because I've worked an election before. I know how simple the codes are to get into the machine. I'm not going to say what the codes typically are, even though everybody who's worked an election knows, and everybody at the elections department knows. The issue of the time and dates being easily manipulated is the exact same issue Hyder Garcia was sued for in the Philippines back in 2010. This is the reason that a legislator from the Philippines called him a son of a bitch, because there was a major issue with the displayed times on the machines and the fact that they could not confirm when any records were actually entered in, because the internal clock of the machines had no connection to any external clock and could be manipulated at will. This is the exact same issue Hyder Smartmatic Garcia was sued for in the Philippines. Him and I, we've discussed this. He's the one that pointed that out to me. The video file that I will share in just a moment shows at a Tarrant County public machine test where I brought up the issue of the time being off because I had an election judge call me and tell me my machines are off by an hour. And I said, that's very interesting. Record that. So then I approached Hyder and I said, Hyder, what's this about the machine, the times being off? And he says, I'm not sure. Nobody's ever told me. I've never heard that complaint. We're sitting there in front of the machines doing a public test for the Tarrant County elections. And I say, well, Hyder, right there on my screen, I say, the screen shows 2:15. It is currently 3:15. And he says, oh, and there's a quick little fix. Very quick little fix. And it's a big problem for me that this is something that can just happen. It's okay. Like just fix the time and the date. And I'm not the only one that has a big issue with that. The Filipino legislature seemed to have a big issue with that as well. Hyder puts on his LinkedIn that he got 100% compliance rating, okay, with the Filipino legislature when he sold them the machines that he designed. He designed those machines used in Venezuela, the Smartmatic machines in Venezuela that helped keep the Maduro regime in power. allegedly. He designed them. Okay? This is a huge issue. This altogether, this is why we have to have those early vote result tapes printed daily upon the closing of the polls, and everybody present has to initial them. And they can go in the judge's bag. We don't have to view the results, or if they happen to see the results, we've signed an NDA and we'll be held liable if there's evidence that we've gone out and told anyone and flapped our mouth, flapped our gums and told people, Betsy Price is pulling ahead. That is against the law. You can't go and release the early vote totals before election day, it's because you don't want to affect public perception. You want people to vote their conscience and vote. You don't want people to say, oh, well, my candidate's losing, so I'm going to go and vote for who I'm hearing is winning. That happens, and you don't want that to happen. So have people sign an NDA, have them swear an oath that they won't release any information that they've seen, whichever one works best, okay? And I'm going to find this video right here and right now. And we are going to watch, and I will show you how simple it is to change the time and dates and why we need to have these early vote result tapes printed daily. The way to get this done, because the Secretary of State will not issue a clarification on behalf of poll watchers, candidates, citizen auditors, or even county elections officials. Hyder claims that he's asked them for clarification on this issue. In fact, I was there. The night that I called the sheriff on Hyder, I asked him to see the early vote result tapes. And he said, I don't have them. And I said, can you please go print them? And he said, no. I said, Hyder, you can't tell me no. That's a Class A misdemeanor. I'm going to call the sheriff on you. And he says, well, I can't show them to you. And I said, you know what? Show them to me, or I'm calling the sheriff. He says, call the sheriff. I said, well, okay, I'm going to call the sheriff on you. And when I'm done, I'm calling the Secretary of State. He says, you call the sheriff, I'll call the Secretary of State. I said, do it. Get Christina on the phone. Christina's not the Secretary of State. Keith Ingram's not the Secretary of State. A man named John B. Scott was recently appointed to the Secretary of State's position. Our Secretary of State in Texas is an appointed position, not an elected one. He's appointed by the governor. Okay, so we didn't have a Secretary of State all through the 2020 elections and several subsequent elections and several prior elections. Governor Abbott just didn't appoint one. Okay. So John B. Scott has no idea what's going on around here. All right. The man calling the shots from the Secretary of State's office is Keith Ingram, and Christina Atkins is just under him. And she is who we often get a hold of when we're trying to reach Keith Ingram, and he don't want to talk to us. So we talk to Christina. Okay. And no shade, Christina, but you got to get your shit together, because you cannot advise people that they do not have to follow your own advisory codes, which are counter to the Texas election codes. No, you don't get to do this. You don't get to totally eliminate the auditability of our elections. That's against state law. That's against federal law. And that is against both constitutions, state and national. The Texas Secretary of State's office is standing in violation of all of these branches of law, state, federal, and both constitutions. And so it is up to Christina Atkins and Keith Ingram if they want to stand in violation of all of the laws. Now, I'm going to play this for you, and I have to do it from my phone because technology, not my best friend. So I hope you appreciate this and understand what you're about to see. Let me take this off the screen so that I can make my potato head large, and you can see what I'm trying to show you guys, okay? Now, this, again, was footage from earlier this year, and I occasionally will show up to the Tarrant County public machine testings in order to see what's going on, how are they doing it. This is where they build the elections. This is where they build and test the elections. Now, if you recently watched one of Jovan's streams, he recently went over how these public machine tests are absolute bunk. They are controlled. You cannot trust them. They are controlled down to a T. And one of my local election investigators found this months ago. She said there's something wrong with the public tests. They're not right. There's something wrong with them. And if you got to watch that stream from Jovan, I will share that again later. But in the meantime, watch how easy it is to change the date and time on these machines. All right. To be able to try and convince us, if somebody wanted to do something nefarious and change the vote tallies on these machines, right? this is what they'd have to do.
Dumb terminals that will do whatever this one says.
Okay, so yeah, we still need the access code.
Right. So you type in access code. When you type it in one of the machines, it says, "What was that code?" Oh, that was valid type 54. Okay, put it up on the screen here.
Okay.
And so that's when you can actually get started. If you try right now, it's going to say, "I need a code to know what to put up on the screen."
Okay, but I can't get that. I can't get that right now.
You would throw off their tests. They have patterns they have to hit. Like
They have
public
patterns. They have patterns they have to
function
hit.
of every ballot type and every precinct is tested on every machine to make sure that if you vote for Aubrey in precinct 101, it counts in Aubrey in 101. If you did, so we have a.
This is Hydra Garcia who I'm talking to in this video.
About the serial numbers on the ballot.
Yeah, he's fully aware.
So this is.
So I'm gonna skip ahead because this is the issue here. Okay, here it is. I think it's right here. So the only way for us to verify that is from. And Tarrant County Elections told her that when she called in, but she didn't. Here. The time zone. One of the judges said that she was having an issue with one of the machines, the controller, I think, maybe, and it's something about it being on an Alaska time zone. Do you know anything about that? I
can pull and see, but
that's like the only thing that I've ever heard about that. But she was pretty concerned about it. She said actually someone in Tarrant County Elections, when she called to ask, said, well. She said, "Oh, here's an issue," and they said, "Well, that's because it's on the wrong time zone. It's on Alaska time zone." Do you know anything about that?
But if there was something with the time zone, the tech would have come out and fixed it.
It was at the end of the night, so it was.
Then, if you know, to the end of the night, then it would have come back.
Well, it was because the controller she couldn't get it to shut down properly. She couldn't get the controller to shut down.
Tapes before closing time, so if it's. Yeah, it makes sense, I guess.
So that's what she was asking. She said a tech in Tarrant County Elections told her that when she called in. But she didn't have their name, so I don't know how to even ask, like, is all of this real?
If you send me the precinct number, we'll see if we have any.
It was at the Southwest Green Oaks.
Okay.
That one. I didn't have this, but that was on election night. I didn't have a poll watcher there on election day. I only had them there for early voting, and they didn't have any issues like that during early voting. So, of course, like everything goes wrong on election
that we found
when it matters and when I don't have as many poll watchers there. So, is there any way to find that out if any of these are on the proper time zone? How do you? Is that anything y'all do?
They're looking at the time as they're setting them up and the whole thing.
So the only way for us to verify that is for me to be here at 2:00 and make sure that says that it's 2:00.
I mean, it's right there on the screen.
Yeah, it's 3:15 at this point in time.
Yeah, so this needs to be changed. Remember, we change these twice a year.
Gotcha.
Because of the time zone thing. So
Got it.
Republic tests it.
Oh yeah, daylight savings
Okay.
time, right?
Is you're going to see that happen. So
Okay.
We'll change it. We'll change it there. So we can change all that, Thomas. Here, this one's.
Yeah, let them know the no.
Yeah. Okay.
The checklist you're going through,
Right.
and setting them in the whole thing.
And this is is this a result tape that y'all printed? Or
Yeah, it's basic for the ballot board. We're going across the.
yeah, is this a result tape or is this like a zero tape?
No, that's. What is this?
It looks like
tape.
Well, yeah, I guess
So
it's
they
a
must
zero
have
because it's
set
all
this one up before the break. They're going to run the ballots and then they'll print the results tape and they're going to do them.
Okay, alrighty. About the result tapes for the primary early voting by location, how do I get those at this point now that it's all certified? Do I need to do open
You have the
records?
ones- No, you have the ones on the website.
No, but we need it printed like the Secretary of State Christina said. They need to be printed from the scanners. So is that how do we make that happen? Because
Send me the request and I'll respond to you.
Okay, because I mean I imagine it's going to be a bit. You're going to have to pay people to do it, right?
Just send me the request and I'll send you the response.
Okay.
He wants me to email him the request.
As far as the April 26th,
He don't want to answer it on
are you
film.
going to have any of these machines there in Commissioner's Court for us to talk about?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, that would be really helpful. And because honestly, okay.
This is because it gets changed twice a year. This is what we have to do each time.
Okay.
That's if there's any date correction.
This is him changing the date right here.
Inadvertently, if somebody fingers it, see, you do this.
Oh, I see.
See, it could have just been an innocent error.
Yeah.
So, see, now we're on Central Time.
Okay.
And this is part of what we check.
That's easy to do.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
there
check,
should be
except
maybe
I'm
there
the one
should be a
that caught
passcode
it.
to change the.
It is, but it gives you
is.
access
It's
to
the
the
whole
administrative
thing.
menu and we don't give that one, so that check has to go.
Oh.
Right. So, and that's it.
Okay. All right.
Wanted to show you.
That was simple. Okay. Oh, it moved it. There it is. So the time changed too. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Just documenting to make sure that all of these duos actually. Sir, is it okay if I? So the time changed on all of the duos that were connected to that controller. All right. So this is the issue. All right. It's just a simple thing. You just go in there and you type in the thing and you toggle the time and date up. So once again, I need help. Every single state needs to be doing this. Every single state needs to be appealing to their Secretary of State to order these early vote result tapes printed daily from the scanners at the polling location. Okay? Let's get that done. Let's make sure we have all of that. And so that nobody can say, oh, well, they could have reproduced those later. They can't. If the poll watchers are there, the poll workers are there, and they're initialed. Just like they do on election day. I hope everybody understands. I'll check a few comments right now. Thank you, White, for watching. I appreciate that. Watching on YouTube. Sorry, I got a little bit paranoid about that. I said, how'd you get into my live stream? Okay. I appreciate everybody. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'm going to check the comments right now just to see. Thank you for Sean Joe for the cookie. I really appreciate that. Thank you for 2 cookies, Sean Joe. I very much appreciate that. I missed previous comments if y'all were leaving comments. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and ask me. I very, very much appreciate you guys. I don't have any comments on locals, but what I shall do is I shall share this link, and I believe that I have the link ready to go. Let me double check. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope y'all understand the severity, okay, of this issue. Oh no, that's a different thing. That's not the right thing. I hope y'all understand how serious all of this stuff is, okay? So I'm still learning how to do all of these live streams. I appreciate it. Please sign up to my email list at takingbacktexas.org so I can blast out. I can give you all a copy of this bulletin as well as a graphic to go along with it that will be a little easier to share. So I really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments or you can email me, okay? You guys are the best. And that's it. Call your reps, call your state reps, call your state senators, call your Secretary of State and ask, what's the procedure for printing the early vote results by location every day during early vote? Bet they're going to resist. Bet they're going to tell you, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's not something we can do. It's something they can easily do. Okay? It's even easier than the links they went to obstruct poll watchers in 2020. It's even easier than that. So, everybody have a good night. Please sub to me on Truth Social, on Telegram, on YouTube. You can go to my link tree, which is at takingbacktexas.org. Sub to me on, I think I have a Gab that I post on. I'm trying to remember to keep up with all of these platforms. And please remember to get a couple of tickets for our event on October 1st in Midlothian, Texas. Patriots versus Traitors. We've got Captain Keschel. We've got Weston Martinez with the Voter FBI. And we've got Jamison Ellis, Dan Crenshaw's worst nightmare. In 3 weeks, Jamison Ellis raised over $45,000 and took 17% of Dan Crenshaw's voting base. I booked him just to dunk on Dan Crenshaw, and he's not finished with Dan Crenshaw yet. So y'all come out. There's going to be other excellent speakers besides those 3. Vendors, barbecue. Every ticket comes with a plate of barbecue. I'm going to do at 3 p.m. Soon as we get started, I'm going to do a preview of my Art of Poll Watchers training seminar. Okay. And we'll go over all of these issues. We've got a lot of great local people that are going to come and speak. They have all these things you can choose to help them with, or just keep up with, or support if you want. We all need to come together. We need to form a unified front. I appreciate you guys. Early vote result tapes printed daily from the machines. Demand it. And everyone have a good night. This is awkward. I hope it ends soon. Bye.